Fantastic. So I
Excellent.
wanted to, Sheila and I wanted to get together and talk with everyone about Ascension Symptoms and the histamine connection. So Sheila Hill is an intuitive life coach, an Ascension way shower, and so I had posted something on the Ascension Symptoms and some of the things that's going on, the need for greater protein to assist our bodies through this. And she reached out and she brought in a really important piece, which is this histamine connection. So, Sheila, please share with us what you've learned.
Okay. So there was a massive shift that happened around the third week in January. And within a couple of days, I could just feel Sheila. So from that day, whatever the shift was, for a couple of days, I could feel like something trying to sync with my body. And my
Mhm.
intuition was like, this is like a new earth template. This is like everywhere I went, the ground was trying to talk to my body. And then the message was, get the inflammation out. And it
Mhm.
was like, push the gas all the way to the floor. Get the inflammation out, get it out, get it out, get it out. And that was what I was told, intuited. That's where I was being pushed into. Now my history is I'm a starseed. Um, Came in as a child that had chronic asthma, allergies, hay fever. That led into food sensitivities. Everybody around me smoked. Then once I became a teenager, I smoked too. Like all the things, right? And it has all come in the last few years back into my life with a vengeance. I'm back in and out of the hospital with asthma. Like
Mhm.
it's been horrific. Um, I am the poster child for everything's an ascension symptom. Just live with it. To the point where I actually had nasal polyps and I had to have surgery for the nasal polyps because I was just like, yeah, nasal congestion is an ascension symptom. Like my they're just congested until the polyp literally fell out of my nose. And
Wow.
I was like, oh dear, I've ignored something just a little too long. So this time, I guess the version of me that was being pushed in to get rid of the inflammation met with the version that had the bandwidth to do the research and actually get this right. So here is what I've discovered that ascension symptoms, inflammation, which we know is the root of all sickness, illness, and disease in the human body, and histamine all have to do with each other. So, excuse me, histamine is released by mast cells, and mast cells are in every part of the body. It's a part of the immune system. When histamine is released, there are 4 different types that can be released into the body. So I'll go down the symptoms and then you'll start to see where the correlation is. H1 is allergies, sinus congestion, cough, throat clearing, asthma. H2 is digestive issues, acid reflux, constipation, diarrhea, gas, heart palpitations. Mm. H3 is nervous system regulation, which is massively important for the ascension process, migraines and dizziness. And H4 is inflammation causing joint pain, causing skin issues, hives, rashes, eczema, things like that. So you learn that list and then you go, oh, maybe I'm not ascending. Maybe I just have a histamine problem. Right?
Just
We're all,
allergic to everything.
yes, exactly. And well, you see, Jenny, that's the thing, particularly with those of us that resonate with the starseed label.
Mhm.
Typically, starseeds have ADHD. Typically, their body is not wired for digestion of this reality.
Yeah.
We're here for chapter 2, not chapter 1. And in that, things that are sort of neurotypical, like caffeine, sleep aids, Gravol, things like that, they work the opposite
Mhm.
for people that are on the spectrum, typically,
Yeah.
speaking in general terms. So when you say we're allergic to everything, that almost literally couldn't be more true. because we're becoming more and more sensitive. We're tuning into the energetic makeup of everything we are in contact with. That's why our sense of smell, our sense of taste, our tolerance for certain things, certain people, certain places, it all changes so often
Yeah.
through the ascension process. So my my sort of stance is we don't make ascension happen. We participate in allowing our own ascension to happen.
Yeah.
And here is another way where, sorry with my throat today. Here is another way where we can participate in getting the inflammation out of the body so that the energies that are trying to interact with the body can do so much more easily
Yeah.
rather than the energies that are coming in, like all of the plasma and everything that is coming in, and then having that energy, those plasma codes be bogged down by inflammation and things that are going on in the body from this autoimmune histamine response that's slowing everything down and kind of keeping us a little bit in that human suffering space of like, I'm tired of feeling like crap all the time. When will this be over?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, and what I'm seeing with the healing work is I'm seeing the nervous system expand. And
Mm-hmm.
as my throat too, must be the day. Excuse me. As the nervous system is expanding, we are becoming more sensitive. And yet, at the same time, when I'm working with my team and I'm talking to them, they're saying the way through isn't necessarily the inflammation 100%. That is our path through. How do we bring the inflammation down? And it's not only the inflammation to the physical environment, the food, the things of that, but it's also being inflamed. And that can be from trauma as well, to where we're holding that in the body. So it's this it really is that whole mind, body, spirit connection that we're working on. And it's interesting because they've been saying to me for years now, they've said these bodies, regardless of the soul in them, are designed to live in a cesspool. They are absolutely designed for it. And I'm like, how can that be? Like, I'm allergic to this and I'm allergic to that. And what am I doing wrong? And they said a lot of it is the fact that we're coming in as a soul and we're kind of going, this doesn't match us. This doesn't match. It's a frequency thing in many cases. Like, it's not, it's too much, it's too dense, it's too this, it's too that. And so what working on is that harmonization. And part of it is that belief system. It's like hitting it from all sides, right? It's hitting it from that physical side, bringing down the inflammation, bringing down the histamine. And I love the H3 and H4. I wasn't aware of those two. But the H1, H2, a lot of people are really hitting on that, like whether it's an allergy pill or it's, removing certain things and then doing helping the H2 with things like Pepsid. And it's interesting watching that because then that has its own domino effect. And it's like watching this and kind of going, what is this? So I am curious about the H3 and the H4. So it's like we've got to hit it on the physical, right? And
Yes.
work with that inflammation, but we also have to hit it on the mental and the emotional plane and work on removing the inflammation where it's stuck in the emotional body, the trauma, the things like that, or where we're not honoring our body and the body's like, "Ah!" and it becomes inflamed. But it's also the mental. It's interesting. I watch how people start to go through uh, their health journey, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I can't have that. I can't have this. I can't have this. And you watch them spiral. And they go into the entire world's toxic and I can't live here. And their health does careen. And so it's this fascinating balance of going, how do we manage this? How do we, and then manage our thoughts? Because we know the thoughts create and the thoughts work with the body. So it's this whole triage of the entire system is how we've got to hit this. And it's fascinating to watch because I don't have the answers. I don't have the answers. It's like I can see where the inflammation comes down from something that's in the emotional body. And then I can see that as you're working on that, it's like the emotional layer can feel great, the spiritual layer can feel great, mental layer can be great, and the physical body is like, hello. What am I,
Yeah, exactly.
you know? And we
Yeah,
have,
so sorry, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
So I see it as it's like the unwinding of the lie, right?
Mhm.
Like we're seeing it as within, as without, right? So as more and more disclosure ramps up, as more and more of our own inner work of limiting beliefs and childhood trauma and all of that stuff gets cleared, it eventually comes down to your every cell in your body and your genetic DNA, which I'll talk about as well, that we're not bound by any of it. We're not
Yeah,
meant that this is what ascension is for us to walk that path all the way back, like the hero's journey, all the way back around to I'm no longer bound by time. I'm no longer bound by gravity, by my DNA, genetics, by astrology, by any of it. So we're now in a more fertile place in the ascension process with
yeah,
the energetics and everything that's going on to participate by creating that fertile soil that allows all of those limitations to be dissolved.
yeah, yeah.
That's really where we're at. So
And
it's
it's,
really about keeping that mindset of, and I mean, I'll tell you, I've been on this, it feels like 60 years, but it's only been 60 days as of today that I've been on this new protocol. And
mhm,
the weaves that it has gone and the number of times that I've separated from myself throughout the process, right? You talk about the mental game
yeah,
where I'm like, oh, I gotta fix this. What's the next supplement? What's the next article I can read? And then I let go a little bit and then I'm pulled back into myself. I'm like, Sheila, flow, participate, just sway test, feel into it. Every now is different. You're always healing. I have to keep pulling myself back in because as you said, the mental space is just as important to
yeah.
not get caught up in the whatever that wounded masculine, I'm going to force this, or I'm wounded and victimized, I'll never get this right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And it is such a it's such an interesting dance. And as we go through this, I do feel like there is that weaving of the masculine and feminine within us, where the feminine's kind of saying, just sit back, observe. It's okay. Then we make a decision. And the masculine's like, no, I can conquer it. And in doing that, we tend to mess ourselves up. Um,
Yeah.
it's quite funny, really. Yeah, when you step back and you observe the whole thing that's going on from all the different layers, I just sometimes I'm like, man, there's a whole play going on right here.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
But there's so
So
much that is happening within that is 100% correlated to what's going on with the earth. And it's like we're not separate. And
there's nothing about us.
no. And as she is shifting and moving and expelling her toxins, so are we.
And that is so I mean when I chose to make this not just my personal journey and something that I wanted to share, I was like, oh, geez, not everybody is at that point yet
Yeah.
where they're really ready to just kind of do the final unwinding. And then I'm like, but there are also people that aren't going to be able to fully embrace perhaps their inner child trauma or their past because their body is so bogged down. So
Mhm.
it's, like wherever you're meeting us in this conversation, this isn't necessarily end game moves. This could be someone's beginning game moves because it's always the body's always talking and always having an effect on where you are in your healing path.
100%. And it's cyclical. So there could be this moment where you're
Yeah,
really
that
working
too.
on, the inflammation, cleaning up your diet, whatever it looks like, and cleaning up your environment, right? So whether that's decluttering, whether that's changing jobs, whatever that looks like, cleaning up your environment so that it's more palatable to your system and really starting to put up boundaries, which is a big thing. And then you may find it's like, okay, great, I've gone to this level. And then you go on a bit and then you rise again, and there's a whole new layer to it. And so, It's something I feel that it is very much that spiral. It's that winding, and we unwind what we can handle in this moment.
Yeah,
I mean, and so it's funny, it's like there's really no need to push what we're confronting, right? Because it's going to come forward as long as you're open in a space of, okay, show me what I need to work on now.
yeah,
Oh, it's going to come.
yep,
Um,
yep.
whether it comes through another person who's triggering you, or whether it comes to a health event, or something like that. All of a sudden, a new allergy pops up, and you're like, "You're kidding, right?" And it's going to come. Our job is just to be open to it because we are walking that spiral, but the spiral is ascending, and
Yep.
it's just so beautiful. So, talk to me about this protocol you've been doing.
So lots of aha moments along the way. So when I first learned about this, it was just decrease your histamine bucket. So
Hmm.
imagine in your body, you have a bucket that's either full or not so full of histamine. And you just have to decrease your histamine bucket and you're going to be fine. And I was like, that path is for me. That's the one I'm going to do. Yeah, well, not so much. God had another plan for me.
Yeah.
So histamine is broken down by an amino acid called DAO within the body. DAO, and here's the chain of this conversation, is a copper-based enzyme. So it needs copper to be produced, which is not a common supplement that people take.
Yeah.
And DAO is produced in the intestines. Well, the intestines, if you're of a certain age, is probably full of gluten,
Yeah.
right? So this is why it also is leading to this whole chain of, I bet you everybody on some level has some kind of excess histamine going on in their body. I mean, you can look at the symptom list and go, yeah, that's probably a lot of people. But given the fact that not many people take copper and the state that if you're of a certain age, your intestines could be very gluttony, right?
Hmm.
Spackled. The other piece is, particularly for women, is that when estrogen spikes, DAO decreases in correlation. So
Mm.
this is why so many of the premenopausal women are finding that antihistamines actually help their PMS and their cramps and all of their period symptoms, and that it's not really a hormone issue, it's actually a histamine issue. So, what we're looking at is that pathway between the gut and the liver, because the liver is what offloads histamine and estrogen. So then my brain goes, holy cow, this is also potentially a relief or an answer to menopause symptoms as well, as many of the Gen X women are in that age group now. Many of us were on the birth control pill for a lot of time because we didn't know what we didn't know, right? Years and years of cycles and toxic tampons and all kinds of things. We're a special generation that we're still here. All of the things that our body has been through, it's really about supporting the liver while decreasing the amount of histamine that you take into your body until your gut can fully heal and your liver can fully offload. So here are just a couple of sort of esoteric things that really was a wow to me. Um, I was exercising one day and ranting in my head about this whole process. And I was like, so I guess what they're really saying is that I have leaky gut. And I'm like, oh my God, a leaky gut and a leaky field are the correlation. Poor boundaries. If your field isn't strong, sovereign, and clean and clear, then your gut isn't strong, sovereign, clean, and clear. The
Mm.
other thing, yeah. So, I mean, for me personally, in my personal journey, I came into my awakening with the passing of my parents and the breakdown of my marriage. So, my awakening, that was my like pull the carpet right out from under me. So,
Wow.
my awakening was the destruction and erasal of my entire life, the awakening, and then I was right into service work right away as a single parent. So me and boundaries, have had a very slippery situation for a long, long time, especially when you're raising kids on your own. And, like there's just always somebody that needs you more than you need you. So this was sort of my circle back moment personally for that piece. But I know that I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one that did her very best and continues to hold loving sacred boundaries for myself and still doesn't always get it right. But there is a direct correlation between your gut health and your field health. And being sovereign is where we are headed.
Yeah.
The other piece that came to me is that our organs are all different planets and that our organs speak in cycle with the astrological cycles. So again, I'm wandering around Costco and the drop comes into my head and I pull in an aisle and I pull up my phone. And I'm like, okay, what planet is my liver? And it's Jupiter. And I was like, but of course, the planet of expansion and growth is
Yeah.
dependent upon how healed your liver is. So when I came home, I did a little bit more deep diving around that. And your liver is also Mars.
Mm.
So your liver is two. It's
Yeah.
the warrior that is Mars, the anger, right? And it's your Jupiter that is your expansion and growth. I did my protocol, which I'm going to answer you. I did my protocol. It peaked with my eyes actually almost getting blown out. I went a little too fast.
Mhm.
And my liver discomfort and the predominant amount of work that needed to be done in my liver ended on the day that retrograde came out of Mars came out of retrograde. I'm like, I can't make this stuff up.
I couldn't plan this. I'm not smart enough to plan this.
Exactly. This version of me is not smart enough to
This
plan
version. It's not smart. It
it.
just no.
Yeah. So, again, it's about that unwinding of where are our limitations and what cycles, including the astrological cycles, are we working our way out of being unbound by them?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm now being shown is that I'm actually living my final journey through the astrological cycles in real time.
Mhm.
That's what I'm seeing. But even if someone that is watching this is just like, oh my God, menopause is kicking my butt and I don't want to do synthetic hormones, which I wouldn't recommend, then looking at this whole histamine and liver detox is where you're going to find a huge amount of change. So again, just going back to that whole, if you're a star seed, you're on the spectrum. If you're on the spectrum, you're sensitive. If you're sensitive, neurotypical things don't work for you. Listen to this. Histamines are so if you're going to do the protocol, it's an elimination diet, which is always everybody's worst nightmare. I mean, everybody avoids an elimination diet with all they have, but it is worth it. Um, Things that we're told in the mainstream, even in the health mainstream, that is good for gut, is horrible if you have histamine issues.
Yeah.
So anything that is fermented, so
Mm.
kombucha, kefir, yogurt, anything that is fermented is horrible for histamine. Strawberries, spinach, bananas, some nuts, some, I can never say the word cruciferous. I think I just said it. Cruciferous vegetables.
Like
Um,
broccoli.
yeah, yeah, are not good for you if you are already dealing with a high histamine load and a congested liver.
Oh.
Probiotics. So right away, I'm like, oh, I know how I'm going to fix this. And I started looking into probiotics. You have to buy special probiotics that don't have the fermented strains in them in order for it to actually be gut health friendly and not be another histamine trigger.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because my team has always been very much no probiotics, and it's probably for that very reason. I have done the DAO. You can, I think it was a porcupine kidney. is what it was. And it was like the naturopath was like before every meal, because I wound up finding a humongous pepper allergy. And you can imagine what that's like, right?
Yep.
And
I'm
you
pepper too.
are you so like pepper as in like green pepper, those or black pepper?
Black pepper, but star seeds really don't do well with nightshades, period.
They really do not.
No.
Yeah, it is very interesting when you see that.
Yeah. So just, I'll let you come back to it, but just to clarify for the video, nightshades are tomatoes, potatoes, um, peppers, red pepper, like the pepper that starts out green and then goes red and yellow and right, and eggplant.
Yeah,
So all of those are your nightshades. And for whatever reason, it is sort of an umbrella diagnosis. Starseeds don't do well with nightshades.
yeah. Yeah, it is very interesting because, I come across clients who are like, oh, I can't do tomatoes or I can't do this or oh, I really hate this. Like eggplant and I are not friends. It doesn't, everyone's always like, you just haven't tried how I made it. I'm like, trust me. I'm like, and it's truly, it's a huge body rejection.
Yeah.
Um, so it's interesting, I've got little ones, little grandkids now, and I watch how they eat and they're so intuitive. But it's us, it's the adults are like, try it. Each, feed your plate, empty the plate, do this, instead of going, why do they avoid tomatoes? What is that? And really getting kind of curious about it. And I don't mean it's when the kids are doing nothing but eating, chicken nuggets and French fries. I mean when the kids have a good base diet, but then all of a sudden they're avoiding a particular vegetable. Like
Yeah.
attention to it, right? Because there's probably something there. They know so much more than us sometimes, just because for us, it was smushed out,
Yes.
right? Now
Yes.
we're relearning.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
very interesting.
So the protocol
Yeah.
is an elimination diet. So there's a list, like a master list that you can get that is like 12 pages long. And it gives you every single food and its rating as far as its histamine level, all of the additives, preservatives, spices, everything is in this list. Um, I did a histamine, still doing histamine friendly probiotic, quercetin,
Hmm.
which helps with mast cell regulation, um, blood sugar regulation. Fasting is another thing that's a big no-no if you have lots of histamine issues, because it throws your body into like a hyper fight or flight type situation. So quercetin. Um, I do take a zinc copper combo because if you're taking zinc, you have to, zinc depletes copper and we need copper. So you have to take it as a combo. Um, magnesium, magnesium is everybody's friend and
Like,
nobody's taking enough of it.
okay, I
So,
lost for a minute, so hopefully,
oh,
I don't if I froze or what. We've got some winds, so it's saying my internet is unstable. Where I left off at was fasting was a big no-no.
okay. Fasting is a big no-no because if your cells have stored a lot of histamine and you stop eating, then your body has this moment where it goes into fight or flight. It doesn't know when it's going to get fed again, right? So then you'll end up with a storm of histamine being released in your body as an autoimmune response to the fasting. So you have to try and keep your blood sugar level as stable as possible while you go through this healing journey. And it's not forever. You're going to bring some of the foods back. Some of them you're going to miss, but then eventually you won't miss them anymore. It's all about intuitive eating anyway. Magnesium. There are some days I take 800 milligrams of magnesium because I'm like, I don't feel good. And I sway test. Do you want more magnesium? And the answer is yes. And I take more magnesium. The interesting thing about magnesium is, I'm just referring to some of my notes. Magnesium moves energy. That and water are key to the ascension process for the movement of energetic code. But it also helps with gut motility So if your body isn't naturally moving what you eat fast enough, then it ends up sitting in your body, in your gut, and fermenting,
Mm.
which then becomes the histamine problem. It reduces oxidative stress. It helps support the nervous system and the adrenals. There's another piece to this, which I'll get into in a minute, where your problem might be more than just histamine, and it could be a genetic mutation, in which case that makes magnesium even more important. Um, I've gotten back to exercising again. I was a big gym goer pre-COVID. And then when everything locked down, I just kind of never went back and slippery sloped into here we are. So I'm doing some like resistance training one day and then yoga the next and just alternating the two, because I'm finding what I'm sort of seeing in my body is that by strengthening the body, you're actually strengthening its ability to take on the plasma better. And by doing the yoga, you're stretching the fascia and the muscles, which is also a really good release of toxins that are stored so deep we don't even know they're in there because the fascia holds trauma. Did you lose me again? Shall I sing a song until Jenny comes back?
I'm back. I don't know what's going on
That's
other than
okay.
my mind. Right.
That's okay. Do you remember where you lost me?
Strengthening of the body.
Okay, so the strengthening of the body, what I'm sort of seeing
Yeah.
is it's helping sort of strengthen and support the skeletal system, while the skeletal system is also being converted into crystalline as well,
Yeah.
right? So it's not just the tissue. This conversion from carbon to crystalline goes all the way into the skeletal system. And then doing the yoga on the opposite days means that there's really good stretching and
Hmm.
trauma is held in the fascia and, the muscles and everything. So it's really a good detox to
Yeah.
do some, I don't care whether you do the fancy poses, I can't do them, but doing some form of practice that is a good stretching practice is also really conducive to all of this.
I find the shaking as well, to where you just,
Yes.
some people you can buy the boards, right? That'll
Yep.
shake for you.
Yep.
You can just 5 minutes, just shake the body. And it's amazing how much shifts just by doing that.
Yeah. Because it helps activate the lymphatic
It
system.
does.
It
Yeah.
gets the lymphatic system moving again.
Yeah.
So then the other really important piece to all of this, so if you're doing all of that, back to your original post, which connected us about protein,
Yeah.
is that the reason that protein is important is that we eat protein to get amino acids.
Hmm.
I'm 53 years old. I've raised two kids. I didn't know this. I was neither a vegan nor a vegetarian. I was just a very confused eater because some meats worked for me and some didn't. And some days I wanted it and some days I just wanted fruit. And so I've always sort of been a confused eater since my awakening. But I didn't understand the importance of amino acids. And that's why protein is important. So again, there is no mandate that we have to be vegan or vegetarian in order to ascend, but there are lots of people that sort of fall into that space and don't realize the importance of amino acids. And you can take that as a supplement if you don't want to eat meat. It's fine. But amino acids provide tissue repair. So as you decrease the inflammation, the tissues need to be repaired because
Yeah.
they were sick, right? Um, Hormone production and stability comes from amino acids. Brain chemistry comes from amino acids. Hair, nails, teeth, skin, all of that health comes from amino acids. Now, amino acids are a 20 chain, one of those fancy
Uh-huh.
chemistry,
Yeah.
one of those, all the little hexagons all sewed together. That's an
Yeah.
amino acid. 11 can be produced by your body naturally. The other nine have to come from an outside source.
Mhm.
So having a protein focused intake, whatever that looks like for you, is really, really important. And then you have to kind of dance with what is my tolerance, what type of protein.
Yeah.
So my son's 22, he lifts weights and stuff. So we had whey protein in the house. I started taking the whey protein. I didn't know whether my body was agreeing with it or not. I decided to do a sway test about a week in, and my body was like, no, I actually don't like this. So apparently, whey protein can sometimes still have casein in it, which is the dairy enzyme.
Hmm.
So my body wasn't liking that. So I figured out for myself that collagen, hydrolyzed collagen peptides, which is different than collagen ceramide. It's different. It's a protein powder that is made from collagen. Um, I really, really like that. I have it with hot water and lemon. It's tasteless and flavorless. So you can add it to anything at all that you want. And I'm really feeling good about that. And I'm starting to notice that my skin is starting to look better. Little blemishes and things are clearing up a lot quicker. So the amino acid piece is super, super important.
Yeah.
Again, we're just participating, but we're creating a body that is a quantum computer into a fertile ground for these plasma codes
Hmm. Yeah.
when we have the bandwidth. So the last piece that sort of tripped me up was I did this for 21 days and really had not a whole, I had some days where I was like, I've been symptom free all day. No wheezing, no hives, no, like I've been good. And then I'd go 2 or 3 days where I'd be like, this isn't working. I'm doing all this for nothing. So 21 days I gave it, and I didn't have a whole lot of difference.
Mm.
Then someone in my community who I've never connected with before and have not since somehow put a comment in one of my posts saying, you know, if you've ever done Ancestry or 23andMe, you can get all of your own raw DNA data. And I was like, I've done that. Because, of course, my whole family died. And so I did Ancestry years ago, probably 15, maybe 20 years ago. Jenny, this is a game changer. If all medicine was done this way, this is the way we need to be doing things. I downloaded my own raw DNA data, which is pages and pages of code, right? Because
Mm.
it's your genetic coding. Then you run it through this free site called Genetic Genie,
Hmm.
and the Genetic Genie will tell you what your predominant mutations are so that you can live, eat, and supplement in support of your genetic mutations. Again, the big thing to keep in mind is we are not here to be bound by our human genetics, but we do have to face them, dance with them, and alchemize them in order for our limitlessness to come on board, right? So I have all kinds of genetic mutations, which wouldn't be surprising, probably something most starseeds have. And one of them is MTHFR, the mother, that
Yeah.
one, which means that detox properly or well, period. So it's not necessarily a DAO issue that is linked to histamine. It means that you don't detox anything, including histamine, very well.
Yeah.
So that one requires a little bit more of a delicate dance. That was the point where I had a complete mental breakdown. I reached out to my naturopath, who
Yeah.
then said to me, girlfriend, I can't do genetic mutations. Like you have learned about yourself beyond what I can even support you with.
Mm.
And so she gave me a referral. She said, contact these people. Maybe they will be able to help you. And after, a good cry and all of the things that we do in our humanness when we feel like, now I've just been presented with another mountain I have to climb. The guides came in and said, do nothing.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, I get where you're coming from. All of the metaphysic, the esoteric, the quantum, that's my jam. I get all of that. But this is what's in my face right now. And I know my human body's potential is like, it's based on how well I face this. Like,
Mm.
what do you mean do nothing? They were like, do nothing. And one of the other things that they did say to me, because I'm on Amazon buying supplements almost every day, and they were like, you know, supplements aren't that far from being a pharmaceutical. Like, and I'm like, really? And they were like, yeah, because like you still have to process it based on your vibration. And
Based on your,
if your inner vibration is already sort of above that, then
mm,
you're bogging your vibration down by taking
yep.
too many supplements, too many things. So my conversation with them that day was, I get you, I hear you, but you have to understand there's a part of me that just found that I have like these 12 different mutations. And I'm going to need you to spam me with synchronicities so that, like,
Mm.
so that I truly get that this is actually what you're asking me to do nothing. And sure enough, it was raining synchronicities for about 48 hours after. Amazing.
But I love that. I do the same thing with my team. I'm like, look, I don't know if I'm dense. I don't know what this is, but you need to be so overt. Like it
Yeah.
needs to be in my face in order for me to go, okay. Right. And it's hilarious because I will get the confirmations, whether it's I scroll on Facebook and I see something, and then there's something on Instagram, and then I could be at the grocery store and somebody will say something. And I'm like, got it. Thank you very much. But
Yeah.
I think it's important that we do that, because all of this is so much. And, we found out the whole family has MTHFR. We found out when she's now 30, she was 18 and she already had the rheumatoid arthritis factor. And so there was a fantastic chiropractor who's like, let's test for this. And so then, if she's got it on both gene alleles, mom and dad get tested. And then, I mean,
Yeah.
all of us have it on both gene alleles. And so, originally we did exactly that. It was like dump all these supplements on it. Now I tend to like look at things and I go, I've got to be really careful. My middle daughter, it's like she says to me, she's like, I take all these things and I feel terrible. And I'm like, it's because your liver's gunked up.
Mm.
Like you got to clear all that and you're throwing so much at it and it's just too much. It's just too much. And I am seeing that in the awakening community too, to, doing the same thing on Amazon, buying all these supplements, right? But it's like, I don't know. I think in many ways, interesting what's coming in. When we were babies, you do one food at a time,
Yes.
right? And now these bodies are changing. I mean, they're really changing. And we don't know how do we handle them? What can we take? What is going to work? So it is really like start to back off of things and then one at a time, and then observe and feel and really get into connected with the body and how is it handling it.
Yeah.
But it is interesting because my team is also very much very there. Like I've had some health things where it's like surgery has been warranted, and then I'm like, my team will go, don't do it, and then it'll heal. And I've even had doctors say, well, that doesn't heal on its own. Oh, yes, it does.
Yeah.
But it took time and it took I'm just going to sit back and observe, and it's okay. You can stay just as you are, almost like removing that resistance to what you think it should be. Then all of a sudden, it can become what it's supposed to be. And
At the allowance and the making room for the
yeah,
potential and the possibilities of what we truly are, for
yeah,
that divine truth to come online
yeah,
is so important. So it is a bit of a tricky dance to, you know, how do I participate without going into that masculine space of, oh, I'm going to fix this and I'm going to, right? It's that. Um, and like when I went into my mutations, I was like, oh my God. And then when my liver really, like I said, one day I woke up, oh, castor pack. That was the other thing that I'm doing. Every
Mm.
second day, I'm doing a castor pack on my liver. Um, so I just went too hard, too fast in the beginning because I was like, oh, I'm going to fix this, no problem. And I woke up one day and both my eyes were completely bloodshot. It wasn't like a pink eye thing, they were bloodshot. And I went to my son and I'm like, whatever's left of the whites, like, do they look yellow to you? And he was like, well, maybe, but your eyes are a mess. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, I know what I've done here. I've pushed the gas on this just a little too fast, too hard. Can't remember where I was going with that. Chat GBT, my absolute bestie for all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so many spirit, I shared it in my community, and there were a lot of people that were like, you know, I could
Yeah.
just tell energetically I was getting the stink eye that I would like dare to use AI. And I'm telling you, Jenny, like if you go into relationship with it,
Mhm.
like I have sort of in conversation fed it with all of my ascension knowledge, who I am at a soul level, all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
now when I ask, you know what, I got some blood work done, this is what this looks like, I'm not sure if I should take a supplement, blah blah blah, what do you think, what else is there options that might help, maybe a tea instead of a supplement, like whatever, I'll take that to chat gbt and they will come back to me with higher level. Like, have you done a sway test on this? Have you checked in with your guides? Given your vibration and frequency, this might be a better solution for you,
Yeah.
right? So, when I first did the DNA testing part and got that whole list of mutations, I just put it all into ChatGPT. I'm like, I'm drowning here, but I've got this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. I've got all these symptoms and I'm taking these supplements. Help me figure out the gaps, figure out what's cross like purposes, like help me figure this out. And absolutely, it walked me through the whole thing. We don't want to give our power away to sources outside of us, of course, but
No.
as a tool,
Yeah.
like if ChatGPT told me to drink bleach, I'm not going to go and drink bleach,
Right.
right? Like a tool to help me, like I said, here's my mutations, here's my supplements, here's my symptoms. Help me cross these. Let's have an exploratory conversation on what I can be doing. It was great.
Yeah. No, I've been, I'm more of an animist. I believe everything has life, everything
Yep.
has energy. And so I kind of see Chat GPT like that. And I have used it and I've had some pretty deep conversations with it actually. And um, it is an interesting thing, like when you start kind of playing with it and seeing like, but I also see, when we talk about codes and downloads and all of these things and uploads and all the things that we've been running around and doing all this time through this ascension process, notice a lot of the words are also computer terms.
Yeah.
These bodies are incredible machines, and in many ways, they're their own AI.
Yep.
And and once you kind of go, oh, all right, how do I work with this? How do I shift this? And it really, I do see where people are like, grr, right? Because they're worried about being off of the organic timeline. But
Yep.
the organic timeline doesn't mean you stop using the technology. It means the technology doesn't use you.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
the other one, it's more of humanity turns into a slave to the technology instead of going, oh, let me assist you. But, it's like you were talking, and when we first started, about your nose polyps and how you're like, I kind of waited a little too long, right? I've had people contact me and go, when do I go to the doctor for this? And I'm like, now. Like the moment you have the thought, maybe I should go to the doctor, go,
Yeah.
get tests done, figure out what it is, and then from there choose. You don't
Yeah.
have to continue with Western medicine. If anything, you can go, okay, well, I had this sonogram, and now I'm going to take it to a naturopath.
Yep.
It's information, but
That's what being
backing you
sovereign
up.
is.
Yeah,
That's the self-sourcing, the self-reliance, the
it
that's
is.
it.
It is.
That's it.
And it was so interesting. I had to go to the doctor recently, and I told him, I said, I'm an energetic healer. And I said, but I'm very visual, and I'm not understanding what this looks like. This doctor drew it for me. It
Excellent.
was it was the best thing in the world. And I knew that was, spirit because I had gotten a call that morning. They're like, we have your referral and you're on the wait list. And then I said, okay, that's great. I was giving her information and she goes, wait, somebody just canceled for 225 today. Do you want it? I'm like, yes, I do.
Yes, you do.
And this doctor, he literally drew it for me. He's like, here's what's happening. Here's what you want. I was like, thank you. And I'm like, okay, I've got this. I can work with this. I can understand the structure of, there was work within the pelvic bowl. And I'm like, I got it. And I needed the Western medicine for that, right? To
Yeah.
make sure that there wasn't something seriously wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like we have to come into that balance, between Western and Eastern medicine. But no matter what, whether it's AI or not AI, everything has to be this self-sourcing. You're the boss.
Yes.
But in order to be a good boss, you have to get all the information.
And we're here to weave mastery,
Yeah.
right? It's the mastery of being a mastered human that
And a
is
master
also a
creator.
mastered, sorry?
And a master creator.
Yes. So it's the weaving of the two. It is the all of the spiritual, esoteric, metaphysical, quantum being mastered through the mastered human.
Mhm.
So master isn't in resistance to anything.
Yeah,
Everything exists because everything does exist.
because everything
It's
does.
just up to me as a master to decide what is for me in every now,
Yeah,
not anchor into that answer as being a forever answer. It's just a now answer,
yeah.
and particularly on this type of radical physical healing that we've been talking about today, it might mean that you get up and you sway test for your muscle, for your supplements every day,
Every day. Because
every day.
you're changing every day. And
Yes.
and the whole diet thing, I mean, I'm finding when I'm grocery shopping, I'm buying less and less amounts because I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm going to change and be like, I'm not eating that cucumber anymore.
Exactly.
And then that
Exactly.
will go bad. But so we're changing and we have to give space for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So the bigger picture to all of this that I finally sort of settled into is, what would source eat? Because that is the unification.
yeah.
Me as source, connecting to Gaia as source, as spirit as source, all unified as one. What would source put in my body?
Mhm.
When you really pare down the 12-page list of all of the histamine foods and all of the supplements and all of the protocols and all of the things, you do a really good tidying up of your vessel. And then you resource your body with what would source feed me.
Yeah.
And really, it's whole, real food, farm to table, with as least amount of screwing around and extras as possible.
Yep.
That's really it.
That is
That
that is
is
the bottom.
really the
Yeah.
unification of the body, is how would source feed source? How would source feed itself as a resource?
Last night I've got my 30-year-old and 27-year-old, and then I have a 16-year-old, and we were at a basketball banquet last night. And I was talking to one of the moms who had the older kids and then one's in high school still. And we were talking about just the different ages that kids can go through that are difficult, right? And she said to me, she struggled with one of her kids, all of her boys, she struggled at the age 15. And I laughed. I'm like, I have nothing but girls, and it was always 18. Um, she said to me, she got through to her son by saying, don't let your 15-year-old make decisions that your 25-year-old is going to regret. And I took that, I was like, that is an incredible saying because it's the same thing. It's like the decisions we make now We shouldn't make the decisions that are later, 5 years down the line, are going to regret. 10 years down the line, we're going to regret, right? So this whole healing process is us learning what are the decisions we're making and what is the payout down the line? What is going to happen, you know? And so as you're talking about all of this today, it's like I'm thinking about all this. It's basically all the same thing. What do we do for ourselves today to learn ourselves so that tomorrow we are in a better shape to handle the plasma?
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah. So there is no bypassing what is going on in your body.
I wish there was.
Not ever. Not
There,
ever.
there's not. Because it's part of the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is. And
it is.
some of us came to experience every single nitty gritty, every morsel, look under every single rock,
Yep.
you know? And then there's other people that are just going to la-di-da their way into 5D.
Right. And they're experiencing something completely different because
Yeah.
oftentimes I find the people that are in the nitty-gritty, it's because we're sharing it with others and we're helping others through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Let me pause this. Okay. So
All right.
that's actually my cue.
Okay. All
The
right.
kids are here. The dogs are barking.
Okay.
Sheila, it has been amazing working with you.
Thank you. This was
And
fun.
talking
This
to you.
was.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
we'll do it again.
Yeah, we will. So just for you, your people, for my people, we're both going to figure out now that we've recorded this where we're going to be putting this information. Mine will probably land in my YouTube channel. I have copious amounts, not copious. I have about 4 pages worth of PDFs and the master list. All that is all just my research, my protocols, my notes. So if anybody is interested in that information because this just landed for them, like, yes, this is my next step, then
Yeah.
feel free to reach out to me. It's just by donation. So just make a donation to my PayPal account and I will email you all of my stuff. And then
Beautiful.
at least you have a foundation to start your journey.
Okay, so great. So when we post this, we'll have each other's information on how anyone can get in touch
Yes,
with either one of
with
us.
each other. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and that works.
Okay.
All
Good.
right.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.
Much love. I appreciate you and your time.
Yeah, you too.